Hi, my name is Megan Mason, and this is my case study of a teacher that reacts negatively towards personal evaluation. I'm a principal that have just got done evaluating my teachers, and I found that all my teachers did very well, except for one teacher specifically, Mrs. Stevens. Even though I found her not to be acceptable with her teaching at the time, I really do believe she is a very intelligent teacher, and she has a great background in education. However, the several times I've observed her classroom, a lot of the students were not engaged, it was loud, and it just didn't seem like they were motivated to be in that classroom. So for the evaluation I walked into, at first the students quieted down, but then she started to lecture, and as she was lecturing, the kids started to lose interest, and they were just not taking in what she was talking about that day. Later, I asked for her to come in on Thursday and to discuss about her evaluation. I told her that I would recommend her to get the students more involved, more motivated, and immediately she snapped back in a rude manner that it was not her fault that her kids were like that. It was my fault because the presence of a principal changes the demeanor of students. And she also said that even though the kids don't seem engaged, there's no conclusive research that says that would affect their achievements. So then I decided to go back on Monday and reevaluated her, hoping that she took what I discussed to heart. She did not. There was no other changes, and so I decided to ask her back to discuss my evaluation of her. My recommendation was to not renew her contract, and I believe that she just wasn't trying to improve. Of course, she was very hostile to this and threatened to take this matter to court because she believed that it was my fault as a supervisor for not doing my job. So legal and ethical issues, there's no physical harm, but there was that relationship that was harmed. So as I was stating, no concrete interventions was given. I didn't tell her of what she should have changed that first time. I just said that she needed to get them motivated. I didn't offer any conclusive documentation because my evaluation was very scarce in details. It's just a checklist and there's no comments there. And then I should have brought in my superintendent or a peer teacher to go in and observe for a second opinion and maybe trying that option out for her to get feedback from them also. And like she said, it stated, I didn't give her an improvement plan. I just said, you need to change this. I didn't tell her, you should try this tool, or hey, have you thought about this? I just said, you just don't have their attention. And again, the rubric was very slim. There really wasn't any like different gauges of anything. It was just either below average or above average. There was no breach of contract, so she is able to finish out her rest of the year for teaching. So Mrs. Stevens is a teacher that evaluated and gave poor scores. At post-evaluation conference, she has reacted hostile towards my recommendation on non-renewing her contract for the following year. She has threatened to take the matter to court. So the facts. The people involved are myself and Mrs. Stevens. The other people that are also involved are the students. It's their education. They're the ones who are at risk of more. The superintendent is going to be involved. I am letting him know that I am having these issues. I was going to give him my evaluation form, and sooner or later he will share that onto the school board. The place is Mrs. Stevens' classroom. There is no demographics of the area, whether it's a low income or high income, rural or urban, and there is no known of the grade level she is teaching. So to prioritize the information, Damaging of the following stakeholders are especially Mrs. Stevens. Her job is on the line. It could affect if she still teaches here and her livelihood. She is an older teacher. And she may not be able to find another job. She might have to uproot and move to a different place for a job. Also, the administration and Board of Education. If we are going to face a lawsuit, then this will impact them. Important stakes in the outcome. Number one is the student's education. They are, right, as I believe, not getting the education they deserve. And this will impact whether their achievements are good or bad. Other teachers are affected in the building because I'm sure Mrs. Stevens is talking to them about how I'm unfair, and they are probably have their own opinions of the matter. And again, the administration, my job could be altered due to a court case. My superintendent could be also changed. And then the biggest thing, has all the stakeholders been consulted? At this point, no. So far, it's just Mrs. Stevens and myself, and that's an issue. So I do have three options. Option one is to do nothing. Option two is do an extensive action. I could reprimand Mrs. Stevens for her actions, for her threats, and I will get the superintendent involved. Option three is a compromise. I would find another evaluation tool, meet with Mrs. Stevens again and again, and make an improvement plan. So if I'm going to evaluate these options, option one, doing nothing, the pros are it's less time, less work for me, it's over and done, I stick with my judgment, done. The cons, of course, are her threats at that court hearing and that my relationship with Mrs. Stevens is pretty much done. Option two, the exclusive action. I stand with my judgment again. I'm going to follow through that evaluation. I'm going to turn in a detailed documentation on what went on at the meeting. And I would also go and get my superintendent to observe her and get a second opinion over the matter. Some cons of this action plan is one, I still hurt Mrs. Stevens' relationship with myself, and I'm also viewed as a stubborn principal, that I'm not trying to compromise with her. It's my way, and I'm not gonna deal with it. Option three, the pros are for the compromise, getting an actionable feedback. I would actually give her tools on how to improve. We would work on a plan on getting her more involved with her students to be motivated, and building back the relationship that she and I used to have, and hoping in doing so build that building capacity. The cons for this is it's going to take time. Mrs. Stevens is already very defensive towards me, and it's not going to go away overnight. It's going to be something that we're going to have to work on. And it also could look like I'm a leader that if I hear a court case, I'm going to turn around and run the other way and just cave in. Out of all the options, I believe option three is the best route, even though I may be perceived as a weaker leader. This is because I really want to revisit my evaluation that I was given. I want to be able to figure out a better solution for an evaluation. I want one that has more details. I want to be more have more measurable goals on there. Again, my sheet was really small. Step two, I would meet with my superintendent, let him know everything that's going on, tell him the route I kind of want to go with Mrs. Stevens, that I want to get extra people in there to help her, and any professional learning developments that we need to get. Step three is to meet with both the superintendent and Mrs. Stevens to start going on a game plan for this. So to implementing my option three, I kind of touched on all of this a little bit, but first, I want to have a pre-meeting with her. I want to go over her goals, what I need to expect from her classroom, what should happen, And then I want to address the evaluation tool. I want to show her the new one that I find and that how it's going to help her in the long run and that it is all backed up by research. I also want to collect her student data from our district testing and our state testing over the years that she's been there and then show her them and figure out where we can improve, where are we needing help. Next is the observation point. Before I even go back in, I want her to have a peer teacher come in. Um, Now, I also want another teacher that is in her subject area from a different district to come in that I have found that is very successful in their classroom. So I want those two different teacher opinions because I'm afraid if I had my peer teacher at my own school, she'd be more in favor of Mrs. Stevens versus the teacher that's the outsider coming in. And then I would like to observe her myself and then collect all those data and evaluations and give her an actionable feedback and tell her and discuss to her everything that was documented and suggested. The next step, if the plan doesn't work, is my plan B. If she is still not okay with this, if she's very defensive that if things aren't changing, then option B is just I would have to tell her, you can either jump on in and try these different tools, try to do what is being asked of her, or plan B is she just won't come back to the school the next year. I want to be very clear that I'm there to help her and that I'm there to support her and that our end goal should be the students.